Oh, geez, yeah. Just like that, blasted it. You gotta love it when they hit it like that. I think one of the funnest parts for me, streamer fishing, is when the fish blasts it. That tug, that just direct contact with the fish, and it just, bam, pulls on it. There's just nothing like it. Love it. There we go. Nice. Oh, it came off. Dang. Hello there. Thanks for tuning in. If you tuned in, you want to learn a little bit about streamer fishing. And in this video, I'm going to pretty much set you up for success if you're just starting with streamer fishing. We're going to talk about rod size. We're going to talk about line size, both in the fly line, tapered leader, and tippet. We're also going to talk a little bit about flies. And then also, most importantly, we're going to talk about technique. All right, so let's talk about fly rod first. I would recommend a medium fast or a fast action fly rod. You need a powerful rod to be able to throw some of these heavy streamers that you're going to be fishing with. I would fish either a 5-weight or a 6-weight. My preference is a 5-weight. I don't have any problems with streamer fishing with that light of a rod. 6-weight is probably the sweet spot, especially if you're new. 7-weight for me is just a little bit too heavy. It's like reeling in a trout with a halibut pole. So for me, 7-weights are too much. Now for reels, I do prefer large arbors. It just has a lot more pickup when you reel in the line. I'm actually trying out a new reel today. It's called the Redington Ace. I just picked this up and I'm looking forward to using it. Now, there is one super important component when it comes to streamer fishing, and that is the fly line. I use Cortland's streamer line. That is specially designed to hook heavy flies. If you've got a fly line that's not heavy enough and doesn't have a powerful enough shooting head, you're not going to be able to get that streamer out there very easily. These specialty lines from Cortland helps deliver this heavy streamer nicely with less effort. So having a good fly line is super, super important. And by the way, if you're finding this video helpful, be sure to subscribe to my channel. I upload a ton to help you get better at the sport of fly fishing, and I appreciate it. All right, so now let's talk about tapered leaders. I would go with nothing lighter than a 3X. 3X is almost 10 pounds. 3X is the lightest I would go. If you're fishing currently today with 4X and you're snapping that streamer off in the back cast, or you have fish breaking you off all the time, that's just because it's too light. Too light a tippet, you're gonna lose a lot of fish, especially on the back cast, right? Fly will disappear and all of a sudden you hear that snap sound. That's because your tippet on that tapered leader wasn't heavy enough to handle these bigger streamers. So go 3X, 2X, 1X, or 0X. And don't worry about it. These fish that are going after these streamers, they're not leader shy. You could literally put 20-pound test on there and they'll still eat it. So I match my tapered leaders with the same type of tippet, right? If I'm using 3X tapered leader, I've got to roll a 3X tippet. If I'm using 2X tapered leader, I've got a roll of 2X tippet. So do you need a sink tip? Really, the answer is no. 90% of the time I'm using floating line. If I need to get down there because I'm in a big river or a heavy flow or a big deep hole and I want to try to dredge the bottom, then I'm going with a poly sink leader and I'm just putting it on the end of my dry floating line. So that's my preference. I don't like to have to switch out an entire line. And I find that if I need to get down a little bit deeper, I just use a heavier streamer and then let it sink. And sometimes you can employ a certain cast that'll help it dive down and get closer to the bottom. And a lot of times too, these fish will come after streamers, right? They're gonna see, if they see it above their head, they're gonna come after it. So a lot of times, just the streamer itself elicits a strike. You don't have to put it right in front of their face. They'll chase after these flies. All right, next tip, if you don't catch anything in one spot, move. All right, so I'll give a spot probably 15, 20 minutes. And if I'm not hooking into anything, I'm moving. So another important tip when you're streamer fishing is I want you to vary up your retrieve. Like every single cast, you're doing something a little bit different. Maybe you're pulling it back fast. Maybe you're pulling it back slow. Maybe it's long strips. Maybe it's short. Use the tip of your fly rod as well to help influence it. Fish that fly like it's a bait fish, right? You're trying to make that fish think that what you've got on is some sort of injured bait fish. So fish it that way. It's not just a standard pull, 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 right? You want to dart, skip, long pools, stalls, just completely sink and almost like not swimming. And all of a sudden, boom, swimming again. So you want to be really random. And once you find something that works, then stick with that until it doesn't work anymore and then vary it up again. So that's a big part of finding success when streamer fishing, is varying up what you're doing with the streamer to elicit a strike. All right, so now found a retrieve that they seem to like, which is a little bit of a slower swing retrieve, just giving it a little bit of action. They're kind of short striking it, which is just hitting it really hard and quick. So when you're streamer fishing, sometimes they'll short strike it, right? They're just kind of blast it without a real commitment to eat it. Sometimes you get lucky and get a hookup, but if they're just kind of playing around with it and bonking it and short striking it, it's tough to get a hookup, but keep after it. And eventually, now I got a fly that I know they're interested in, this white sparkle minnow. I'm gonna stick with that and also stick with the slower retrieve, which happened to get the last strike. So now I'm starting to figure it out. I'm gonna stick with that and hopefully put one in the net. Oh, another big yank. That was a huge yank. Oh my God. Oh, I don't know how I missed that. I should also mention on the knot, typically what I tie on the streamers is either just an improved clinch knot. That's kind of my go-to. And then if I want some more action, right? If I want a little more action on that streamer, I think the fish are being a little more picky, I will tie a loop knot. So those are the two knots that you're gonna wanna learn how to tie for streamers. The loop knot, especially during certain times. Right now, I'm just using a clinch knot and it's working just fine. So no need to go to the loop knot. All right, I'm ready. Man, that was a big pull. So yeah, they want it really slow, just barely on the swing. But that one, you could tell, just pulled my line out of the water. I'm surprised it didn't stay on. There we go. Ah, nice, nice. Notice how I strip set that? That is the way to do it. You also notice I'm not getting it on the reel because I got a whole bunch of line out here. I'm making long casts. There's no way I'm gonna risk losing this fish by putting it on the reel, so I'm just gonna hand line it in. And you see my index finger is still on the line, so it's acting kind of as the drag. Solid brown trout. Got all sorts of crap in my net. Look at that guy. Nice. Look at that. Just he's off. Just like that. Beautiful brown trout on a streamer. There are a ton of streamer patterns out there, and a lot of them are tied for the angler because they look good, right? And you want to buy them because they look fishy. I found that there's only a handful that I use all the time, right? The Sculpzilla is one of them. That is my go-to streamer fly, or the Sparkle Minnow. It just kind of all depends on where I'm fishing. But those two flies are just money. But there are some dungeons that are out there, mini dungeons, sculpin patterns of all sorts of different kinds of sculpin patterns. Small, little micro streamers. I mean, pretty much anything and everything. I try to gravitate towards natural colors outside of yellow, right? A lot of times I'll use yellow as well, but I'm using olive and I'm using black and I'm using white in some of the combinations. Trailing hooks can help with short strikes. What a short strike is a fish comes up and just grabs the tail of your fly and you don't have a hook back there, so you miss it, right? If you have a trailing hook, a lot of times those hookups, your hookup percentage will be a lot higher with the trailing hook. But there are some patterns that just don't have it. I don't particularly like using articulated with the two hooks just because that has a tendency to really, it's tough to get unhooked and there's just hooks everywhere. So it's either a trailing hook or a single hook for me. All right, so you'll notice my retrieve is pretty erratic, you know. Sometimes I'll let it swing. Sometimes I'll bring it back quick. You want to kind of put your mind into a bait fish. What would a bait fish do? All right, and if you get a strike, you might have heard people say trout set. Trout setting is when you bring your rod up like this. That's trout setting. With streamers, you want to strip set. So you want to, when you feel the bite, pull on the line, pull on the line until you feel the fish tight, and then you can bring your rod up. So that's called a strip set. Your hookup percentages will be a lot higher with streamers if you do it that way. Whoops. Okay, that's normal. Hooking crap in your back cast. Oh, did it come off or did I break it off? No, it came off. Good news. Then when you do that, make sure you check your line. Make sure that you didn't mar up your line. I'm gonna work both sides of this tail out here as well. See if they're in the kind of the inside seam. You also notice I'm kind of keeping line. It's loosely going through these fingers right here. That way I can clamp down on the line if I end up getting a fish hit it, right? So, because if I'm in the middle of a strip, if you don't have something holding onto the line, then you're probably going to miss the strip. So I try to keep it somewhat loose between my index finger and thumb on my casting hand, just so I'm always keeping control of the line so I can strip set just in case my other hand is off. And I'm just working, you know, all aspects of this. I did it again. See? Even 40-year veterans get excited, and I put it in the bushes. So don't get frustrated. It happens. The biggest thing is you just don't want to start yanking, stuff like that. So avoid the frustrated yank. You'll be fine. Oh, that was a good tug. Dang. Come back. Oh, I feel like I should have had that one. The cool thing about streamer fishing as well is that it's not technical, right? It doesn't matter if you have drag. It doesn't matter if you splash the water. These fish are aggressive and they want to eat this bait fish. So erratic is better, right? Not being perfect is better when it comes to streamer fishing. They'll hit it even when you're just dangling in front of your line or in front of your rod. That's how aggressive some of these streamer takes can be. So try that next time you're out there streamer fishing, and hopefully you'll get one in the net too. All right, everybody, till the next time, fish on.